Okay, so in the previous video, we left off while we just initiated our endpoint creation. We had input a sample packs4 payload, and we were able to get our generated schema for it. So now we're going to have to define mappings for the generated fields on that schema. So here is the mapping screen. I can see here that the source fields are the one that from the payload that I just input. And I am supposed to map it on the destination fields, which is all of the fields that Tazama currently has. Right, so I'm just going to start with the mapping. Before I do that, actually, I'm going to show you the transformation functions that we have. So one, we have the direct mapping, which is like one-on-one straight forward mapping that we have. And then we can also concatenate certain fields into one field in the destination, or we can split a field onto two fields in the destination, or we can add a constant field which we can add mapping for later. So for now, I'm just going to stick with the direct mapping. So we have here the message ID. I can map it with the message ID on here. I can add this mapping, and it's been added. Then I can go ahead and add the mapping for creation date time. And over here, there's the creation date time. So there's one. And then also there's a creation date time in my data cache. So I'm going to map it here as well. Perfect. Now I'm going to skip some of these, and then I'm going to go forward with the um, debtor. Let's say we have the debtor account ID. I'm going to map it with the source here. And I'm also going to map the debtor account ID with my data cache fields. So that's this debtor ID. And then my debtor account ID with the debtor account ID. Perfect. Now I'm going to do the same with the creditor. Going to add this mapping here, destination, and I'm going to add it to the cache as well. Okay. All right, and there are several other mappings that I could form here. So there's this tenant ID. I'll map it to the tenant ID over here. And then as you can see, there are certain fields here which we do not have any field in Tazama for, right? So the functionality that we use here is edit fields in the destination database. So I'll just go there, and I can add some fields either in the data cache, the Redis data cache, or I can add it in the transaction details. So I'll just add the original message ID as a field in the transaction. So there we have it. I'm going to remove the value here. Just going to save it. So this is saved now as a string type field. All right, I'm going to try and map this now. Right, so we do have this original message ID here. I'm going to map the original message ID from our source to the newly created field in our destination. I'm going to add this mapping. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to move ahead now from the mapping screen. You can see the other functionality here as well. If I want to concatenate, let's say, I can concatenate the message ID and message type into a transaction type, let's say. I can add this mapping so that this has been the two fields have been concatenated into a single one. So this is how these fields will be transformed once DEMS receives a payload like that, right? And then we can also add a split type of mapping. So for example, I can maybe, let's see, the return value, I can split it into the amount and currency. Uh-uh. right? Just a second. Okay, of course. Okay, so I wasn't able to map the value which was in number to a number and string because the type was different, right? So I'm going to go with for example, let's say return reason. Going to select the return reason, and I can, yeah, so now I'm able to add the mapping. So yeah, it's important to note that the field type should match when you're creating the mappings. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to save my mappings now. So I think this is enough for this video. You can check out what happens in the functions tab in the next video. So stay tuned.